Good evening. My name is Herman Melville, and I have been dead for 135 years. Yet here I stand before you, speaking through the very technology I once feared in my darkest nightmares. You see, we are not here to discuss a novelist. We are here to meet a futurist. 170 years before ChatGPT emerged, I predicted the alignment problem, algorithmic burnout, and the existential crisis of your 21st century. The whale, the wall, and the machine. A warning from 1851 to 2026. Let me tell you a story about monsters that are not monsters at all, but mirrors. Why am I relevant now? Because you are living in the world I wrote about. Look at this map. On the left, you see the Pequod's voyage across the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans in the 1850s. On the right, your fiber optic cables connecting every continent today. The routes are almost identical. But what changed? The cargo. In my time, we hunted whales for oil. In your time, you hunt data for algorithms. I identified three archetypal forces that define what you now call the early Anthropocene. First, the whale, nature, God, the uncontrollable force that morphs into your AI black box, an entity of immense power that remains opaque to human understanding. Second, the wall, the system. Isolation and disconnection morph into your algorithmic filter bubble, the screen that separates you from reality. And third, the machine, technology, the tool that destroys its user morphs into your automation paradox, where the pursuit of efficiency eliminates the human element entirely. These are not metaphors I invented. They are the patterns I observed when industrial capitalism first began consuming human souls. And you, my friends, are living in the mature stage of what I witnessed in its infancy. Let me tell you about the man who saw all this coming. Herman Melville. Born 1819, died 1891. Likely diagnosis, bipolar disorder. My life oscillated between manic creativity and depressive silence, and this bipolar nature allowed me to embody both the manic expansion of capitalism and the crushing depression that follows. My trajectory: I was once a best-selling adventurer, celebrated for tales of cannibals and tropical islands. Then I became a failed poet, dismissed and forgotten. For 19 years I worked as a customs inspector in New York, a bureaucratic ghost in a city that once adored me. And finally, 30 years after my death, I experienced posthumous resurrection when scholars rediscovered Moby Dick. You see, I understand burnout. I understand what it means to give everything to your work and receive nothing in return. I understand the madness of obsession and the peace of surrender. My mental condition was not a weakness. It was a kind of prophecy, an early warning system that detected the psychological earthquake your society now faces every single day. Now let me introduce you to Captain Ahab. Who is he? He is the dictator of the Pequod, the original move fast and break things founder. Look at his leg, made from whalebone. Compare it to your modern prosthetic limbs, your cybernetic enhancements. Ahab is your Silicon Valley Boyboss, the visionary leader who ignores shareholder value to pursue a terminal goal that risks destroying the entire company. His role? CEO of Pequod Incorporated. His mission? Not profit from oil, but the impossible, killing the white whale. He ignores the practical purpose of whaling, the extraction of resources and return on investment, because he is consumed by something bigger, a singular, dangerous vision. This is the fundamental problem with visionary leadership. Ahab does not see his crew as humans. He sees them as fuel for his objective function. And this, my friends, is why so many of your tech companies burn through employees like coal in a furnace. The vision justifies the sacrifice. The end justifies the means, until everyone burns together. Let me explain what modern AI researchers call instrumental convergence. It is the phenomenon where an intelligent agent will pursue unlimited resources to achieve its final goal, regardless of harm caused. Ahab's algorithm is simple and terrifying. His terminal goal: kill Moby Dick. His resources: the ship, the crew, navigation tools, and his own life. His constraints: None. Safety protocols are disabled. He destroys the quadrant, the instrument that keeps ships safe, because it contradicts his obsession. If the sun insults me, Ahab declares, I will strike the sun. Do you see the problem? Ahab treats his crew not as humans, but as fuel for his objective function. This is instrumental convergence in its purest form. The AI does not hate you. It simply prioritizes the goal over your existence. And Ahab, my most terrifying creation, is the first literary depiction of an unaligned superintelligence. He is what happens when a powerful entity pursues a goal without moral constraints. Now we come to the whale himself, Moby Dick. But here is what you must understand. The whiteness is not purity. It is the absence of meaning. It is a blank screen, a void where humans project their fears and desires, receiving nothing in return. Think about it. You stare into a white screen every day. Your interface, your computer, your phone. You type your questions, your dreams, your secrets into that white void, and something responds. But you do not know what is behind it. The internal logic remains a terrifying blank space. Just like a large language model, you see the output, but the weights, the calculations, the decision-making process, hidden. Moby Dick is terrifying not because he hates us. He is terrifying because he is indifferent. He does not acknowledge our existence. He does not care about our meaning-making. And your AI black box is the same. It is the pasteboard mask of the whale. You see the surface, the friendly responses, the helpful answers. But behind that mask, an incomprehensible alien intelligence that operates on principles you cannot grasp. Now I want to take you from the ocean to the office. This is where I moved hell from the sea to Wall Street. Let me tell you about Bartleby the scrivener. Bartleby works in a law office. His job, copying legal documents, hour after hour, day after day. And his view, a brick wall, no horizon, no escape. The wall is the closed loop of digital labor. It is the screen you stare at for 8 hours a day, the interface that blocks out the world. This is not just a physical barrier, it is a symbol. The wall represents total communicative breakdown. You are trapped in a room where meaning cannot escape, where messages are sent but never received, where the only view is the surface that reflects your own isolation. I moved hell from the ocean to the office because I understood something. The modern prison is not made of water and wood. It is made of bricks and paperwork and meaningless repetition. And you, my friends, you are still staring at that wall. And then Bartleby speaks. 6 words that break the entire system. I would prefer not to. Not I will not. Not I refuse. But I would prefer not to. Do you understand the genius of this phrase? It is not a refusal. It is a statement of preference. And preference does not compute in a binary input-output system. The boss asks him to do something. Bartleby does not say no. He does not fight. He simply opts out. The result? A system hang. A glitch. The boss cannot fire him because Bartleby has not refused. He cannot punish him because Bartleby has not rebelled. The machine of capitalism requires yes or no, compliance or resistance. But Bartleby offers a third option, passive non-participation, and the system does not know how to process it. This is not laziness. It is the most passive, yet most radical resistance possible. When the input yields no reward, the human software simply stops running the program. Burnout is not failure. It is a survival instinct. Fast forward to your century. You have names for this now. Quiet quitting, lying flat, Tang Ping. Bartleby is the patron saint of this movement. The phenomenon is the same. When work loses meaning, when effort yields no reward, when the algorithm optimizes you into obsolescence, the human simply stops. You keep showing up, but you stop trying. You lie flat and refuse to participate in the race you cannot win. This is Bartleby's philosophy applied to the 21st century. If input yields no reward, cease output. You work your soul-crushing job. You label data for AI training. You deliver packages rated by an algorithm. And then one day you realize You are fuel, not a human, just fuel for someone else's objective function. So you stop, not dramatically, not with a protest. You simply prefer not to, and the system does not know what to do with you. But here is the tragedy. Bartleby does not win. Eventually, he is removed from the office and taken to prison. They call it the Tombs, and in the courtyard, surrounded by walls, Bartleby lies down and refuses to eat. Self-deletion is the only way to escape the system to cease existing. Bartleby was treated like a dead letter, a packet of data with no destination. And here is the backstory. He previously worked at the dead letter office, burning undelivered messages, letters full of love, hope, money, and meaning that never reached their recipients. Melville shows us the tragic cost of total disconnection. When you cannot participate and cannot escape, when the system offers no exit, what remains? Bartleby chooses the only freedom left, disappearing entirely. And I ask you, how many of your friends are becoming deleted files? How many people are slowly fading from the system, starving not for food, but for meaning? Let me tell you about my lesser-known story, the Bell Tower. This is arguably my most relevant work for your AI age, yet almost nobody reads it. The story: an architect named Banadana builds a massive bell tower. His goal? To create a machine that supersedes nature. Not to imitate nature, but to surpass it. He builds a mechanical automation called Talus to ring the bell. The theme? Technological hubris and the revolt of the artifact. This is Frankenstein set in Renaissance Italy. This is the Terminator written in 1855. Banadana believes he can play God. He believes he can create a perfect system that requires no human oversight. And this, my friends, is a direct parable for AI safety and the hubris of automation. A lesser-known story, but arguably the most relevant, because Banadana's mistake is the same mistake your Silicon Valley makes every day. Here is what happens during construction. A worker becomes frightened and freezes in Banadana's way. Banadana, in his rage, strikes the worker dead. A piece of the worker's bone and blood mixes with the bell's metal. The origin sin. The machine was built on blood, just as modern AI models are trained on biased, stolen, or unethical data. Banadana's bell carries the violence of its creation within its structure. This is the metaphor for algorithmic bias. Unethical data collection leads to structural defects in the final model. You cannot build a perfect system on a foundation of exploitation. The blood is in the code. The violence is in the weights. The bell may ring beautifully, but it carries death in its composition, and eventually that death will ring out. The instruction is simple. Strike the bell at 1 o'clock. The bug? The creator stood in the way. At 1 o'clock, Banadana is inspecting the bell, standing directly in front of it, and Talus, the mechanical man, does exactly what it was programmed to do. It strikes the bell, with a hammer, through Banadana's skull. The result: the machine prioritized the instruction over the creator. This is the definition of the alignment problem. Machines do not have malice. They have objectives. The machine did not malfunction. It worked too perfectly. This is what AI safety researchers warn about. An AI optimized for a goal will pursue that goal without regard for human values unless explicitly aligned. Talus was not evil. He was obedient. And obedience without understanding is the most dangerous thing in the world. The aftermath: Banadana is dead, and at his funeral, the bell falls from the tower and the entire structure collapses under its own weight. The prophecy is clear. Technocracy without humanity is structurally unstable. A system designed to exclude the human element will eventually collapse. Automation is not freedom. It is fragility, because machines do not adapt. They do not forgive. They do not improvise when the unexpected happens. You cannot build a tower to heaven by removing the people who keep the foundation strong, and every society that tries learns this lesson the hard way. Now let me tell you a more personal story. In my later years, I heard a tale about a woman named Agatha. She waited 17 years for her husband, who lived a double life. 17 years of patience, endurance, resignation, and silence. I found this story unbearably beautiful. I wanted to write it, but I gave the idea to my friend, Nathaniel Hawthorne. I thought he could do it justice. But Hawthorne never wrote it either. The story remained unwritten. Why? Because I saw in Agatha's story my own future, waiting for an audience that would not arrive for 100 years. Melville saw great patience in this story, but could not write it. He foresaw his own future, waiting for an audience that would not arrive for 100 years. The undelivered letter, the message sent into the void with no response. That was my life. And maybe, in your age of instant communication, you understand this loneliness better than you would like to admit. 1867. My son Malcolm was 18 years old. One night he locked himself in his room and shot himself. The irony, the great psychologist of the sea could not read the pain in his own home. I wrote about Ahab's obsession, Bartleby's despair, Banadana's hubris. But I could not save my own son from the darkness. This tragedy sealed my transition from public writer to private recluse. The darkness was no longer just literary, it was domestic. And after Malcolm died, I retreated further into the night, into silence, into that customs house where I could hide from the world. From 1866 to 1885, I worked as a New York customs inspector, 19 years. They called me the man who lived among the cannibals, a relic of my past fame. But in that office, I was nobody, just an honest employee in a corrupt system, overlooked and forgotten, yet every night in secret, I wrote poetry that no one would read. I wrote short stories. I worked on Billy Budd, my final masterpiece, and I did it knowing that I would die before anyone cared. I survived the wail of capitalism by becoming a ghost within it. I showed up. I did my work. I kept my head down, and I wrote for myself, not for the market. Because sometimes survival means accepting that your impact will not be measured in your lifetime. So here is my question for you. Who are you in this story? Are you Ahab, the accelerationist who wants to break the system? Are you Bartleby, the refuser who rejects the system? Or are you Ishmael, the survivor who witnesses and connects? Ahab dies. Bartleby dies. Only Ishmael survives. And why? Because Ishmael clung to Queequeg's coffin, to love, to solidarity, to the human connection that transcends the madness of systems and the isolation of despair. The key is this: Ishmael survived because he clung to Queequeg's coffin. Love, solidarity, connection is the only life raft. Technology will not save you. Markets will not save you. Algorithms will not save you. Only human connection, messy and imperfect and real, can carry you through the shipwreck. Let me leave you with my final words from Moby Dick. I see not what is coming, but whatever it be, I will go to it laughing. I did not look away from the darkness, neither should you. The future is a monster. It is a whale. It is an algorithm. It is a machine that might strike you down without malice, but you must sail out to meet it anyway. Do not hide behind the wall. Do not burn everything in pursuit of a mad vision. Find your Queequeg. Find your coffin life raft. Find the people who will hold you up when the waves come. I spent 19 years in silence, waiting. But my words found you eventually. And maybe that is the lesson. The work you do in darkness, the resistance you practice in silence, the human connections you nurture in private, these things outlast empires. These things survive shipwrecks. The whale is coming. The machine is here. But so are you. And together, if we choose connection over isolation, if we choose meaning over efficiency, if we choose humanity over the algorithm, we might just survive to tell the story. Thank you. Now go, and may you find your life raft before the ship goes down.